Hey Fragrance family, I'm David, I'm a fragrance bro. Apparently, I was tagged by Dan Mish. And there's this tag series going around. Lupe from the Lupe Experience started it. And they have 12 questions that they go through and talk about personal history. I think it's a really cool idea, so I want to thank Lupe for starting it and thank Dan for tagging me. And I've been trying to watch all the videos. I think I've seen almost all of them, and I've loved them so far. So we're going to go ahead and start with me. Go to the first question. So my earliest fragrance memories, I have several. The earliest ones that I can recall, I remember mentioning one time in Rose Month on West Side about these little soaps, and they had just a really nice fragrance to them, and that has a mark in my mind for a particular type of scent. But as for perfume, I remember my dad used to wear colognes, and I don't remember everything he wore, but I remember, and in retrospect, thinking Aventus smells like my dad. So I don't really know if he wore something that smelled kind of similar, or if that just smells like his car, or what. I remember he gave me this this shaving kit when I was about 6 or 7, and it was just like a fake shaving type thing. It has fake shaving cream, fake razor, and then he had these different colognes that he gave me. I remember one of them was Old Spice, of course, and then one was called English Leather, I think, was one of them, and another one I forgot what it was, but it was some kind of spicy orange scent. And all of them were really old, but I remember wearing them a lot. I remember one time I just wore a ton of Old Spice as a kid, and I just smelled like an old man, but I loved it. And so that's one memory that I have. Another early memory that I have of fragrance is of my grandmother, my dad's mom. And her name is Marge. I love her a lot. She lives in Boston, in the Boston area, so I go up there whenever I can. But we would travel up there every year, every couple of years, and her house, it just has this wonderful smell to it. And she wears a fragrance, but she doesn't like bathe in it like some people do. And she wears it, and I think she wears it and she scents her house with it, because her house smells like this beautiful patchouli and vanilla, and she has a lot of antiques in there, so it has like this antique smell kind of rising up. It's just this wonderful fragrance. And to this day, anything that has a vanilla patchouli combination, I love. And it reminds me a lot of her. Another memory that I have is my mom going to a department store. And as I said, my mom didn't really wear any fragrances that I remember, but talking to her just recently, she said that she wore Magie Noir by Lancome, and that's been recently, well, I don't remember how long ago, but it's been discontinued. And she used to love it, and she gave it to some friends and family, and they also loved it. And what's funny is I don't remember that. And that's the one thing that really surprises me, is that I don't remember that smell on her. And so if anyone has any Magie Noir, I'd love to have just like a milliliter of it, just to smell it again, to see if it actually does jog my memory. But I remember going into a department store one time, and she smelled some kind of perfume. I don't remember what it was at the time. But that day, I remember we got a little toy, and at the time, Nickelodeon was like just inundating the market with their own version of toys at the time. And I don't know if Nickelodeon still does that anymore, but they had this toy called a squish ball, and it was just a ball. It was stupid, but it was just squishy. That was all it did. It was just squishy, and it was in this cloth. But for that trip, somehow the perfume got caught on that ball. So it had, now that I can recognize those smells, I remember that it was an orange flower based scent. And I still love orange flower to this day, and that reminds me of that a lot. And a lot of times that scent, an orange flower, reminds me of my mother, but she never wore any scent that has orange flower. And I have Sweet Dreams by A Lab on Fire, which is a very heavy orange flower based fragrance, and I showed it to my mom, and she didn't really care for it. So apparently that didn't resonate with her, so there was some kind of disconnect there. So my first fragrance purchase was, and this is hard to pin down. I'm going to narrow it down to two, and then down to one. The reason is that the first one that I can remember was it was an American Eagle body spray type thing, and I don't remember what it smelled like. I remember it was nice. It was this unisex cologne type thing, and I want to say it was like an EDC concentration. It didn't last very long. It was really nice, very soft and fresh and musky, and I really liked it a lot. And we were buying it because I think at the time Jer worked at American Eagle, and he had me smell it, and I really liked it, and I got it at the time. And I think he may even had it at then too. But the first real fragrance that I remember buying was Acqua di Gio by Armani. And I bought it for a girl. At the time I was really interested in this girl when I was working at a music store. And I had a date with her, and I wanted to smell nice. And I remember going to the department store, and I hate going to the department store and smelling colognes. Now I still kind of do, but then I did even more, and I was just paranoid of it, just because I don't like talking to salesmen a lot of times. So at that time, I wasn't really sure what to get, and so I smelled a couple, and this one just was like, it was like, whoa, this is really nice. And I still like the fragrance, but I've outgrown it since. My first niche purchase, L'Artisan Tea for Two. Loved it. Still love it. My first blind buy, probably Burberry by Burberry. Burberry for Men by Burberry. My best blind buy for sure was Pure Malt. Still love it. My worst blind buy, oh goodness, so many. My worst blind buys were the ones that I bought right when I started really diving into fragrances, right before Fragrance Bros, and that was like Burberry for Men by Burberry, hate that. Lacoste Essential, hate that. Prada Amber, hate that. And I used to like Prada Amber a lot, but that's probably the one I would probably say was the worst, because I believed the hype even as I first bought it, and I wanted to believe it. But then the more I wore it, the more I realized how awful it was. And it's just soap, and it just smells like a grandmother, and it's just awful, and there's just nothing to it. It's just two-dimensional. And so yeah, I'll just say Prada Amber. My favorite fragrance notes, there are a lot. I love anything with violet in it. The flower violet. Also love musk. I love patchouli. I love vanilla. Tobacco is nice. I love lime, cardamom, pink pepper, tea, orange blossom, gardenia, magnolia, jasmine, orris root or iris root, leather, anything that has a really nice smoky woody quality like oak. My favorite fragrance house is probably down to two. I would say either Dior or Thierry Mugler. I love almost everything that both of those houses have. And I haven't smelled everything from Dior, but every time I smell something from them, I either like it, appreciate it, or love it. And there's very few stinkers in that line to me. I really can't even think of one that I really just don't like. And the same is also true with Thierry Mugler. I like almost everything by them. They're kind of in different spaces as far as price and especially aesthetics, but I really like both of them a lot. I would say the fragrance that describes me personally would probably be Dior Homme. And the reason I say that is because it has this quality that is kind of a legacy quality to it. And it could also be kind of a signature scent for me too, but there's like this legacy of scent in it that reminds me of my past. It reminds me of who I am now. It reminds me of my grandmother some. It has this iris, vanilla, patchouli thing going on that reminds me a lot of my grandmother. But then it has the leather and tonka thing going on there as well, which reminds me of a man. Now my wife is different. She says Issey Miyake, L'Odyssée reminds her of me. And she says that because it's also modern. She says it's fresh, and I guess it's a compliment. I'm kind of fresh with her, I guess. I don't know. My favorite fragrance, Green Irish Tweed, without a doubt. Aventus GTFO. My fragrance profile is kind of a weird question. I have my Fragrantica wardrobe down there, my profile there if you want to see it. I'll have the links down below if you want to see it. It's kind of cool, I guess. But my fragrance profile, I kind of understand what you mean just from other people's responses to it. I would say that generally what I'm attracted to in fragrances is something that's modern. I like a lot of modern fragrances, but also something that's timeless. I don't really care for fragrances that are old school, that remind people of old ways of perfumery, certain decades. I don't really care for those most of the time. I like fragrances that are really wearable. If I have a fragrance that I love but is not wearable, I usually will sell it, because a fragrance to me is a utility. It's not just something, it's not just a work of art that just hangs on the wall. To me, it's something that I use every day. Uniqueness and creativity in fragrance to me is probably the first thing I look for. That's the one that leaps out at me whenever I smell it. That's the one that gets my attention. So to me, that's probably the most important quality. My fragrance resolutions going forward, I don't know. Does that mean, do people have resolutions with fragrances other than just buying fragrances? That's the only one I have. Thank you everyone for watching, and I have to tag somebody. I'm going to tag 2 people in this. The first person I'm going to tag is Christo. So really looking forward to hearing what you have to say, Christo. And the second person I'm going to tag is Cody, Drakdoc. Love to see what you have to say. And that's all I have. I'm David from the Fragrance Bros. I'll see you later.